Hello and welcome to Push Your Glasses Up. I'm Mikey.
And I'm Reena, and hi.
Hello.
Nothing like touching a 400-degree flat iron before recording.
I can't say that I have that experience, but
This is a hot, hot podcast.
good thing you have bandages.
Yes. I
Hot,
got where
hot,
you were
hot
going with
heat
that. Yep.
bandages. Old. Um,
Mhm.
we are here to talk about Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which just came out today as a recording, this weekend in general. What did you think about it?
I absolutely loved it.
Mm.
I loved it. I thought the visuals were incredible. I thought the fight choreography was some of the best we've seen since like Daredevil or Winter Soldier. I thought that they took a lot of tropes and stereotypes and flipped them on their head, which I thought was amazing. And then the supernatural element, obviously, like got me really excited because I love mythical creatures. And also, yeah, it was good. It was really good. I'm actually going to go see it again, which is like something I haven't done in a Marvel movie in a really long time.
Yeah. I really liked it. I don't I I don't know if I loved it, but that's also partially due to the fact that I had a very, very bad theater experience with it. Which is why I would be happy to pay $30 to watch movies at home. Um, but I enjoyed the movie itself. I don't know if I would have enjoyed it more if, you know, somebody wasn't pulling their phone out on my left every 15 minutes and the person on my right wasn't pulling out their phone every 5 minutes. And yeah, it was just kind of brutal. But I did really enjoy it. I loved the wire fu stuff a lot. I appreciate the story being, it gets complex eventually, but it is a simple story when you cut to the core. Where it's just a, a guy trying to fix his family, basically. And I was surprised a little bit at how I don't know if I love the Trevor stuff. It was funny.
Oh,
It
that
was
was
funny,
funny.
but I don't know if I love going that route entirely. Like there's there is some lack of responsibility for his past that is not there. But whatever. It's a side character. Doesn't really matter that much. But yeah, it was I enjoyed it a lot. Um the humor hit, the action was clearly like the best part of it. The fights were the peak of the movie for me.
This was like everything that Iron Fist should have been in terms of
Yeah.
like origin story, like coming from Asia, fight sequences, like all of that stuff.
Mhm.
They
Yeah.
like finally got it right. It was like
Yeah.
every complaint I had about Iron Fist, which is kind of a similar-ish story. There's dragons, like there's a lot of being in one country, being a fish out of water in another country, finding your way, all kinds of stuff. But this was just so much better.
Well,
It's like so
I think a
much
big part
better.
of that is the fact that there were Asian POVs behind the camera for this, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to Jeff Loeb being in charge of Iron Fist. So,
Oh, 100%.
yeah.
Like,
Um, I I'm not sure what it is that it didn't like going into it. I was super super psyched to see the scores that it was earning for reviews and stuff. Um, so I don't know exactly what it was. It didn't hit quite as hard for me, but it's still high up in where I would like list it. It's just that like I'm
oh, this is my favorite introduction one by far.
yeah, it's
Like I don't know.
Where I have stuff like ranked, I have it kind of more. It's like if you were to break it into three groups, it's like the low end of the top group of just the whole MCU, not just the.
Really? I
Well,
mean,
that's
I
where I
thought
have Captain Marvel and Black Panther as well. Because
I
that's
would put
including
this right
Endgame,
up
that's
there with
including Infinity War, that's including Loki, that's like.
I would put this right up there with Black Panther.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's right where I have Black Panther. It's just that I have Black Panther also kind of in the low end just because there's WandaVision, Loki, Infinity
Oh,
War,
I would
Endgame.
put this up. I would put this above WandaVision and Loki,
It just didn't
hands
quite.
down.
It just didn't quite get there for me. Um,
I would do like Infinity Saga, Winter Soldier, like Guardians 1, and then I would probably put Black Panther in this. Like I would definitely like be at the top.
well,
Am I
yeah.
missing
So
any? That my
let me. I have it loaded up here. So out of 27 things I have listed, Black Panther is at 9. So it's not like it's low. Like it's still pretty high up. It's just that I'm a mark for Spider-Man. I have
mm-hmm.
Winter Soldier up there. I really 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 liked Black Widow a lot. And then I just the top 4 are like I said before, Infinity War, Endgame, Loki, WandaVision, and then it's everything else is kind of very close together on the line. So it just didn't quite like surpass some other stuff is all.
I
But
would put this ahead of Black Widow for sure.
it
I
just
liked it, but I liked Black Widow. I thought it was really good, but I liked this a lot more.
that's fine. I
Considering I want to go see it again.
Yeah, that's fine. We're all different.
But like let's talk a little bit more about some of the things that were interesting and that they did a little bit differently. Because one thing I think that was a huge theme was like, so his dad Wenwu was the villain,
mm-hmm.
the Mandarin, the you know the person with the 10 rings. But rather than being like the cold, cruel, like borderline abusive father who trains his son to fight, I thought like one of the most key elements was that he really did love his kids, and he was a rather affectionate father. And I felt like even though he trained him to be an assassin when he was young, because of the death of his mother, he also was like on like Shang-Chi was also on board for it. Like he makes the agreement, like okay, yeah, he like thinks about it and agrees with his father that he's going to do this. And then in the scene where he's like punching the post and his knuckles are bloody, his dad comes and like that's enough and like takes care of him. Like I don't know, there was like a really like tender, loving side to his dad. Or even like when he completed his first mission and then didn't come back. Like obviously he knew that like where he was, and when his sister also ran away. Like, but he just let them go do their thing for a while. He rounded them up when he needed them. But like
well,
I felt like
yeah,
he let them do their thing. He didn't just like drag them back.
I think that was more so he maybe didn't realize that he needed them to get the thing done that he wanted, because he didn't bring them back until he heard her calling,
Mm-hmm.
and that wasn't for years. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's a
But I
separation
think
of
he could
all of
have.
them.
But he could have pulled them back at any time, is what I'm saying. I am saying he let them go do their thing. He knew where they were. He wasn't like, you will be under my control forever. You're my kids.
Yeah, but the wording on let them is where I get a little caught up, because it's to me it's more of
That's what he
he
said.
he
Those
all
were his words.
right. I'm just saying, like the POV that I had on it was that it was more I let you go, but it was him just like saying, "Well, fuck you too." Like, see you later. Because if he wanted them back for just wanting them back, he could have just also talked to them. Like,
Well, he like I mean, they also were like functioning adults. Like everyone was doing okay. Obviously, his sister was probably doing a little bit better in some regards, as she was like the, you know, running an underground fight ring out of Macau. So impressive. But um, yeah, obviously, I feel like he knew where they were, but he kind of let them go for a while. And even when he brought them back, it was for like, obviously he was hearing the voice of his wife and he needed the amulets to illuminate the path, but he did seem like he genuinely wanted them to go with him. Like, we're gonna go get your mom. Like, we're gonna be a family again. Like, that was
yeah,
the mentality.
for me, it still came across as I need you because without you, I can't fix this other thing, rather than just for pulling the family back together.
I don't know. He seemed really excited about this prospect that, like, he had found his wife, who we know obviously he didn't because she was dead. But I don't know. That was like the one piece of his life that seemed to mean the most to him. And I really like how when she left her village, she gave up her magic, but he gave up the rings. Like, I didn't realize
Right.
that at first. I'm like, what the fuck? Why is she leaving? She's like, what? She has all this mystical, magical energy. She's from this amazing land, and she's leaving it all behind for a dude. But he also gave up his power, too.
Right. And that's where he's lost to grief and lost to an addiction, which is where I see it a little bit more, that he wants to just do the thing that he wants to do and is using the kids to get what he wants, as opposed to the thing he wants being the family.
I think it
So,
becomes that when they disagree. Like, but I think he's excited at the prospect of having the family back together. They show so many flashbacks of them, like, sitting on the couch and, like, watching movies and, like, how happy they are, and, like, him just being, like, a normal dude for a minute instead of,
yeah.
like, this 1,000-year-old conqueror.
Yeah, it with some of the stuff that I dealt with addiction in the family the last few years, it's just the way that my brain kind of put my own spin on it, maybe, but it's just how it came across to me a little bit. So,
Well, I just like that as the villain, I felt like he was very multidimensional.
oh, for sure, he
And
absolutely was. Yeah,
like when he was like, no, she's there, and the more this like voice called to him, the more desperate he got,
yeah,
the more like you could see that he was like grieving more and more and kind of crumbling. That was like brilliant. Like, you felt for him. Like, if you thought the person you love was, I don't know, trapped behind a gate and you had the power to release them, you'd do it too.
yeah.
We all know that it's not true, but
Yeah, he's a sympathetic villain. There's no denying that. It's just that,
I don't know. I just like that he like was kind like a shitty father in his choices, but clearly also cared about his children.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I won't say he didn't care about them at all. I'm just like, with the amount of time passed, it was clearly a catalyst for how it came to me, that he needed them to get the thing he wanted, as opposed to come back home, I'm getting the family back together, as much as the other thing.
Yeah,
That's
but
just
he
how
could
it
have
is.
just taken their necklaces and not them if he really just wanted to use those.
Well, he did immediately put them in a dungeon. Was
Like,
immediately. I don't. We
like
just
for
we just
like
see it differently. That's all. That's.
I don't know. I like that, and I actually there some people find like Aquafina to be a little annoying, but I thought she was hilarious. I loved their platonic best friendship
Mhm.
and how they still could be like really really close, but never like, ooh, it has to be romantic and everything always has to be romantic because two people can't just be friends.
Yeah, the only time that it like even sort of broached that was when her grandmother said the "when are you gonna get married" thing. Like, that's the
Of course,
closest it
because
came.
that is a grandmother thing though.
Yeah. So,
My grandmother asks me every time if I'm dating anyone, if I'm seeing anyone special.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna pray to Saint Jude for me, the patron saint of lost causes.
Mm-hmm.
Nana's doing her best.
Um. Yeah. I wish that it got to the reuniting with their mother's side of their lineage a little bit sooner. Because that was the best part for
Oh,
me.
that was amazing! I loved all the creatures.
Yeah, like
It was like Detective Pikachu Part 2 for me.
yeah. Well, and then the other thing about that is though, like, it's easy to think that all of those creatures are just like, hey, made up comic book creatures. All of those are real, like, cryptids in like Chinese lore. So like,
Or
which is the coolest
even
thing.
Japanese too, like the kitsune, the nine-tailed foxes. Are
Right?
definitely
Yeah.
like a thing. And we know obviously dragons are a symbol all over Asia.
Well, yeah, and they have like the Kailin, which were like, what's that weird horse? That part, and like
What was Morris? What
a
was the
Daijang.
with his little his little no
I don't know.
face?
I was looking some of this up right before recording, so I don't have too much of the actual like factual storytelling on what they are supposed to be.
And
But
then it was really cute to see the foo dogs like be real, since they're always guardians
the
of
Guardian
temples and
Lions,
things.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that was like even beyond just like the cool aspect of like bringing that, I don't want to say like fantastic side of like the legends kind of aspect of that. Um it just meant a lot to see these characters connect with their mother even though she wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
Um and to see that come full circle of, we start out the movie with that fight between the two of them, and the choreography is beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
and
Oh, the choreography is so
and then you see the
beautiful.
confrontation between Shang-Chi and his father, and the choreography is identical. He's
Mm-hmm.
doing the same fight that he did with his wife. Like it's that's like the really beautiful stuff to me in this movie. Whereas like I just wish it got there a little sooner.
Or even when he's like when his aunt is teaching him.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Oh
that,
God,
all
that was
that stuff
gorgeous.
was really, really well done, and I loved it so much. I just wish that 15 minutes extra in that world would have done a lot for me. I think, because the whole rest of the movie is kind like it's played with a lot of humor, but it's a lot of suffering, like a lot of suffering for like what's going on both sides of the story, both the hero and villain side. There's a lot of grief, there's a lot of abandonment, and it for me just felt like a lot of that before the rewarding reconnection. And I just wish there was a little bit more of that.
I don't know. I didn't think it was that heavy. Like
No,
before
no, no.
we.
It wasn't displayed heavily, but the everything the characters are going through is dire and based on losing somebody. So like for me, this is only the second movie back in a movie theater other than Suicide Squad for me. And so it was a weird experience after going through a year and a half of just like daily news of losing people and losing people. That's where my perspective is when I'm seeing a movie right now. So it still felt like I felt all of that coming through, even though the characters are making jokes and doing other stuff. For that still played heavily to me. And so I wanted some of the like the not conflicted jokiness. Like I just wanted a little bit more of the sincere happy moments, like in when he's training with his aunt. I just wish there was a little bit more of that. Like it's the humor is fun. The action is fun. I just wanted a little bit more of that, like, direct sincerity to, as a reminder of, like, shit gets better, and I just wanted it a little bit sooner. That's all.
I don't know. I felt like it was maybe I don't know. I felt like it was more fun. But then again, the movie I've seen the most times in theaters was Demon Slayer Mugen Train, which is just heart wrenching.
Yeah.
So compared to that,
well, no, that's the thing is
this is a much lighter movie.
This movie is light and very fun. It's just the things that, like, every movie is gonna get picked up differently for each person, and it's just, it can't, like, that stuff shined through the other stuff for me is all. So it's, I mean, it is what it is. Like, we're all going to take different things away from a movie, but it just, I wish there was a little bit more of the warm, nice moments, not just the humor and action. That's all.
I don't know. Maybe it's just because the second act was just so, like, amazing that maybe that's why, like, I feel like there was more of it than it was. Like, when they went to Talo, like, I just feel like that part was so rich and there was just so much going on that, like, in my brain it's like they're in San Francisco for like 30 seconds and then they went to, like, the fight ring and then poof, now they're there.
Yeah, it's, I don't know if it's the circumstances of the showing I had or whatever, but the middle section just felt like it took a little longer to me. Like that Macau section, even though it's not super long, it still felt a little stretched out to me, where I think the in-between of the climax and the training, like, could have just had a couple more moments.
Ooh, but now you just remembered that scaffolding fight. Oh my god, that was
cool.
That was so cool, and also like, oh man, it, like, made me really nervous.
Yeah.
Like, that was like, I'm not really, like, I'm, like, okay with heights as long as I'm, like, secure. So that like is like a.
It doesn't help that, like that. Yeah, it doesn't help that in my showing, the darker scenes were very hard to see because the bulb on the projector was also very not good. It was very old and needed to be changed, and everything had a tint of blue on it because of that. So I think the circumstances of my showing probably tint the movie a little bit, which is unfortunate. I was gonna say,
I mean, even, like, when they're fighting in, like, the neon sign is, like, in the background, I thought that was, like, a really cool shot. And since we're talking about when they're in Macau, awesome cameos from Wong and the Abomination.
I did think there was going to be more to it than
I feel like there. Something was cut. Like, why were they there and then they just leave together? Like, it's a thing. Like, okay, yeah.
I think it was just a setup for the fact that they're explaining why Wong isn't around for Spider-Man. And Abomination, I think, is just a, hey, remember this guy? Because he's going to be in She-Hulk.
Oh. He looks so much better, though. Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's, what I'm going to have to chalk that character design up to is they're pulling the Doomsday thing from Batman v Superman, where he was, like, young transformed. He wasn't, like, fully developed in the Incredible Hulk, so then he got the fins on the side of the head and stuff over time. Or, you know, they just changed the look. That's whatever.
While we're talking about cameos, we would probably skip to the mid-credits scene, where not only are we with Wong, but also Bruce Banner and Captain Marvel, kind of giving Shang-Chi the ropes.
Surprised it was just Bruce.
Why was his arm broken? I'm trying to figure out, like, the time.
Post Endgame.
Oh, you're right.
Yep.
It took me a minute. I was trying to connect it because I forgot, because he had the sling when he was still in Hulk form.
Yeah. Well, and that's where I'm like, I wonder if they're going to explain why he's just Bruce again. Because he seemed like he found the happy medium.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, although it was a very sad moment when he was like, "It's like I was made for this."
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so um, a little let down by the post-credit scene.
Really? I thought that was awesome.
I liked it. I just thought there was going to be a much bigger like universal thing as opposed to like just setting up the sequel for this character.
What or Shaolin? Is that's her name?
Shaling, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Um, but
But
yeah,
I love how it's like at first she's just taking down the pictures. You think she's like moving out,
right.
but no, she like took over. I thought
I
that was
lo-
badass.
I like it. I think I'm just more used to the post credit scenes not just being sequel fodder anymore. I'm used to them being like connecting to other stuff. So
Well, I think that was like flipping it on its head though, because the mid credits really did, and I'm wondering where did the Ten Rings come from, and what is that beacon calling in, and
yeah,
what's
it's
that?
almost like that one should have been the one after the credits.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's like they just kind of flipped them around, but maybe they wanted to help you get out of the theater faster.
Yeah, I don't know. Because it just would have been a little more rewarding for the overall, like what's coming in the MCU for if the rings was like the final thing you saw.
What do you
But
think? What do you like? What do you think they are?
I don't honestly know because I don't know this character that well. I think the introduction to this character for me was Civil War comics, and he's like barely in them.
Yeah, well, like Civil War is just like everyone is there.
Right, but he's in I think one issue in like the background in one panel and then like close up in a second panel. And that's it. And then like I was like I investigated on who that character was because I did not know. And
Mm-hmm.
then when he pops I can't remember if he pops up in Secret Invasion after that or not. So it's I don't have a lot of history with this character. So it could be anything as far as what I know.
I wonder where it's gonna tie in though, because they said like all the sling ringers like they felt it,
Yeah.
like there's like a beacon calling, but we know that it's not anything that we've seen so far. Do you think it's gonna tie into like all the Kang stuff?
I think it'll tie into like more ancient magic stuff more than the Kang stuff. Just because like they felt it while using other artifacts
Mm-hmm.
and like there could be some like alien thing or you know grand scheme kind of Kang thing or whatever, but like it to me it just feels more of like an ancient magic artifact that dates long before when Wu had them. So
I
like
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I like that they changed them and they made them like bracelets. I thought what they did was really cool because we've already kind of if they did them as like the rings and they all had different elements, it's like pretty close to the Infinity
Ooh. Yeah.
that and it's like pretty close to Infinity Stones. Like with each of them having a
Kind
thing,
of.
like I liked how he like could use them and like throw them, use them as power, use them to propel himself, like did all kinds of different things, like in different configurations. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. And I like with that I really liked in the main confrontation at the end of like when you could see the power transitioning
Oh, when he went all
from
Super
father to
Saiyan.
son. Well, and well, even before that, when he just took five,
Mm-hmm.
like when just five of them came through, and like the look on his father's face of like, there's a weird like conflicted between worry and pride at the same time. That was
Mm-hmm.
cool. Yeah.
Because that's eventually he'd always talked about passing them down.
Right.
Like he, as much as he was addicted to them, he gave them up for a point in time. He talked about passing them down. Like he had a back and forth relationship with the rings themselves.
I think in the place where he was at the end of the movie, it would have been a I'm leaving you these in my will kind of situation. But maybe if nothing had ever happened, maybe he would have passed them on just like I got a watch that belonged to my grandfather. Like, so
Well,
yeah.
I thought that was like part of the training. It's like you need to get strong enough so that you can
To be able to
wield these. It's kind of like I'm watching My Hero Academia right now, and as All Might passes down the power of One for All to Deku, Deku's body can't handle it, and he has to like work up like the strength to be able to wield it because it just keeps breaking his bones. So I feel like, which actually that show has a lot of references to like Star Wars and fun stuff, but same thing.
It's Star Wars. It's Star Wars, and I mean, as far as what I've heard about it, it's Star Wars and American superheroes. Like,
yes, because they like the name of places is like, oh, it's Naboo, but with like a U instead of two O's. Like they name things. It's kind of funny, but same thing. You can't just wield power out of nowhere.
Yeah. Although
that's dangerous.
Awkwafina got real good with a bow and arrow, real good.
She did
and she said so. That's why I was like, totally. I found that super funny because she was just like, it was crazy. I just did it. I suddenly knew how to do it after a day.
That was the funniest part, though, when they're like retelling the story, like all of.
Oh yeah, that was a good cycle back. But yeah,
But I also took her being there as like a connection to her heritage, because when he asked her like, "What's your Chinese name?" she has to kind of think about it for a minute. Like she never uses it. She doesn't really speak Mandarin. Like she, like kind of brushes off her mom when like okay, we gotta go, like whatever.
Yeah, that's what I think the whole movie is reconnecting with your heritage, whether it be directly with like a mother figure or a father figure or just in general to your heritage. That is what the entire sort of plot boils down to in the end. But it's just one of those things where I'm like, the parts where that shined through the most, I just wanted more. Mm-hmm. So
I liked that the big bad was like actually like a creature.
Yeah.
It felt very Pacific Rim, to be totally honest with you, which, fun fact, Simu Liu was actually an extra on Pacific Rim. And that thing definitely felt like it came out of the, what did they call it? Not the trench, not the void, not the, what is it called?
Rift?
The Rift! The Rift! It felt like one of the things that came
I haven't.
No,
that's my least favorite Guillermo movie, and I somehow pulled that out of my ass. Yeah, it's just not what I want from Guillermo, that's all. It's fine.
Is it the Rift? Maybe. Whatever. It just felt like one of those monsters.
When they're co-piloting
It's the Drift.
When they're co-piloting, they're Rift compatible.
Drift compatible.
Drift compatible, okay.
That's where that came. What? Oh my god, what is it? This is gonna really bug me. I just watched these the other day. No, I watched Pacific Rim when I was on my way to Hawaii. That's when I watched it. Appropriately. But that's what that creature looked like. And it was like stealing souls. That was insane. That was very metal. It was very metal to have bat-like creatures steal souls.
Which, I didn't look this up ahead of time. I just looked it up now. Apparently, they came to fruition in a Doctor Strange comic. They first appeared in a Doctor Strange comic.
Oh, the Soul Suckers?
The Soul Eaters? Yeah.
But again,
and then I was trying to find like the name of the main one, but they just called it a large one or something. All right, that's fine. Would have been cool if it had like some sort of identifying name, like legendary name. But
I believe it is a fell beast.
they just called it a large soul eater in the movie. So I
I
don't.
believe what you're referring to is the Balrog.
Right. Exactly. Put an identity to it though. That's would have been cool.
I
But
got nervous.
it was
I
neat
got
though.
nervous when it started to suck out the soul of the dragon, the Great Protector. I was like,
Yeah.
oh shit, I do not like this. If the dragon dies, we riot. Like I cannot handle that. You leave Haku alone.
Well, and that's the thing with that part too is it's, and I don't know if it's meant to come across that way, but for just again the way that I was watching the movie, it the dragon it represented like the culture themselves too, but like it a lot of it felt like it represented his mom. So
Mm-hmm.
that was especially a harsh moment to deal with too. But yeah, that's the end of this movie. Great. I love this movie.
Well,
If everything gave me the feeling of that whole third act, I would be a little more satisfied. But I like it a lot. That's all.
I would love to go live in that village. I would never leave. I don't care who comes. I don't care how hot he is. I don't care. I would not leave magical land with creatures and all of that fun stuff. And a freaking dragon.
Yeah, that's the other thing though too is like it.
Oh, dude, Tony
It's
Leung
hard to
is
tell
like pretty hot. He's like 59 years old, and I was like, "What's up, Dad?"
Well, it's just the thing with the
I
dragon.
don't usually like villains, but whew.
The thing with the dragon too was it. Again, I don't know if they intended it to come across this way, but it came across to me that it was sort of hibernating and woke up alongside Shang-Chi. So it like
Mm-hmm.
that might not be the case. That might just be how I interpreted it, but
Well, if it's a great protector and everything is fine, I don't know. It's probably
get
just
some
coming
rest.
up to do some scale donations and then just chilling out. I mean, what
Yeah.
else? What do you do when you're a dragon? It's not like you have bills. You're not going to work. You don't have dragon school.
Maybe just a large suitcase.
What if it had a very tiny suitcase because they have such little arms? Is there more like snake
It's
like?
still pretty. It's still
tiny
pretty
suitcase.
pretty large arms comparatively to humans, though.
Oh, for sure, but not compared to the rest of its body.
It would be like a school bus still.
But if you look in the air, it's a very tiny bag.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't. That's pretty much everything I got. I don't know.
It did
if you
feel a
have
little
anything else,
never-ending story when he was like riding on the dragon. I was like, yeah, you do your thing, Falcor.
Yeah, those moments. As much as I like those moments in general, when they did close-ups on them, it felt a little bit like it was lacking impact with how they were acting while on top of the dragon, because it just kind of felt like a little unnatural the way that they were interacting with each other while flying on a dragon.
Fly on
Seems like there'd be a lot more like excitement going on about like how they're they're slowly putting a hand on one another while they're on top of a dragon. It's like, no, I think there'd be a little more urgency in the movement when you're on top of a dragon. But yeah,
I don't know. When's the last time you were on top of a dragon?
6 weeks ago.
Not too bad. I heard it's like riding a bike.
A little more wavy. Yeah, I don't know. I got most of what I was gonna bring up about this movie. So I don't know. Do you have anything else about it that you want to talk about, or?
No, I just can't wait to go see it again.
Yeah, I do want to watch it again for the sake of. I mean, I want to watch it again because it's Marvel stuff. So I'll pick up on more stuff on multiple viewings anyway. But whether it's at home or at a different theater, just to see what the experience is in a different theater, because
if you can, I would see it in IMAX too, because it was shot in IMAX and it looked gorgeous.
Well, I would. My thought was to maybe try to see it in a 3D showing, because it's clear like the perspective of stuff is a lot of the time stuff coming at the screen. So it does seem like it would play well in that format, but it's just unfortunate circumstances to go back to the theater and have a bad crowd, bad projector setup, like, and then on top of that, like, my neck was just really sore because this theater projects higher on their screen. So, like, the masking comes up from the bottom. So I, like, no matter what, had to look up like this the whole time. So it was kind of uncomfortable. But
I got my N9 seat in the IMAX theater. You know, in the top row, how there's an odd number of seats, so there's always that one in the center.
That's what I used to do when I was in there.
Score. Took myself on a date.
That's what I basically did for this, except it's all on a floor. So it's not like stadium style where it like vertically goes up. So unfortunate. But yeah, that'll probably do it for this. And then we got some more stuff coming up that we'll figure out. I got to look at the calendar for when stuff comes out because stuff got bumped again yesterday. But we'll be back with more stuff soon. Vague stuff.
What? Oh, you froze for a second.
You froze on my end, so.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll be back. We're frozen in time for a minute there. There was a glitch in the Matrix and a blip in the timeline. I'm now a variant.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll check the calendar and we'll be back.
All right, bye.